This week, we're exploring the city of North Adams. Located north of the Berkshire County, this former mill town is the home of almost 13,000 people. Is North Adams a destination place, or is it just another location to get some gas? I'm Gus, and let's see what's along the way. The area we call North Adams today was first settled in 1745 during King George's War, mostly by stationed British soldiers at Fort Massachusetts. As during this time, the Massachusetts Bay Colony was undergoing a period of rapid westward expansion, erecting forts along the way, closing the gap between them and the province of New York while displacing former communities, as the land was formerly occupied by Mohican members. Initially built in 1741, Fort Massachusetts provided the first home for these new settlers, while also acting as one of the first lines of defense in the area for about a decade. When the fort fell in 1746 during the French and Indian War, it prompted Captain Moses Rice and his family to abandon Charlemont. After its reconstruction in 1747, it saw very little battle, as by this time the boundaries had changed. After it was surveyed, it was given the name of East Hoosac, and by the 1750s a village was starting to form, producing lumber from the pine forest alongside mills on the Hoosac River. In June of 1762, East Hoosac was sold at auction and was given to Nathan Jones, and by October of that same year, settlers arrived to the south end, which is the area now we call Adams. By 1778, East Hoosac was incorporated as the town of Adams into Massachusetts, Berkshire County. North Adams surrounds the Hoosac River at the confluence of two branches of itself, while Adams surrounds it heading northward. The Hoosac River has been crucial to Adams' development, beginning as a resource for local tribes, a backdrop and strategic point for colonial control, to being the source of mechanical power fueling an industrial boom. North Adams is crossed by two major routes, Massachusetts Route 2 and Massachusetts Route 8, while Adams receives traffic from Massachusetts Route 8 and is the northern terminus for Massachusetts Route 116. North Adams receives freight rail traffic from the former Troy and Greenfield Railroad from east to west, while containing a remaining spur from the former Pittsfield and North Adams Railroad from north to south. Both are currently run by the Pan Am and CXS Railroad, and there's currently no passenger rail service. As industries grew, rail lines quickly arrived to the area. The Pittsfield and North Adams Railroad, incorporated in 1842, ran at the time by the Housatonic Railroad Company, ran the line until the 1870s, when the Western Railroad, now the Boston and Albany Railroad, took over. This coincided with the opening of the Hoosac Tunnel in 1875, an engineering marvel that allowed passenger and freight rail traffic through the Hoosac mountain range. This great milestone for Adams might have also exacerbated a rift forming within Adams. The reason as why did Adams separate seems unclear. Retrospectively, as Adams' north end grew as a populous industrial center, the south end remained focused into farming or textiles. Most town offices were also located in the north end, making it a trek for residents to perform their civic duties, perhaps creating feelings of underrepresentation. What is clear is that by 1878, Adams split into two, and from which North Adams was incorporated into Massachusetts Berkshire County, with a population of around 10,000 and leaving Adams with a little over 5,000 people. For the following decades, North Adams Industries grew, reaching a peak in population of 24,200 people in the 1900 census, surpassing the city of Pittsfield. By the 1920s, North Adams Industries created multiple products. Besides textiles, the industries also produced shoes, machinery, rugs, aluminum castings, and more, while at the same time having a strong workers' union presence in the area. But this era of progress came to a quick end, as North Adams was not immune to the effects of the Great Depression. As the economic downturn continued, residents of North Adams experienced limited employment, with some opting for chance in other cities across the country. Mills that once provided jobs to residents were also part of a larger chain of industry. When these mills closed down, it continued the positive feedback loop of the economic downturn. Places like the Arnold Print Works, a once world leader of printed textiles, closed its doors in 1942, leaving over 3,000 workers without a job. But later that same year, the Sprague Electric Company acquired the plant from which they mostly produced capacitors that at the time were used during the war effort. Fueled by a post-war economic boom, Sprague expanded, building plants across the country, and with Project Gemini of the 1960s, components made by Sprague had reached outer space. But back in North Adams, things weren't as peachy, as the 1970 census showed a new low in population of 19,195 people. This did not stop, as by the time the Sprague Electric Company closed its doors in 1985, this job loss was reflected in North Adams' 1990 census, recording a population of 16,797 people. This population bleed has not stopped to this day, as the 2020 census recorded another new low of 12,961 people. That's 747 less people than in 2010, while at the same time just gaining around 100 new full-time jobs. Today, North Adams has the appearance of a vibrant city, still projecting a sense of stability even after its tumultuous decades. In 1999, the Massachusetts Museum of Contemporary Art opened its doors in the former Sprague Electric Complex by a group of staff from the Williams College Art Museum who had used the space in the previous years. And since it has hosted more than a dozen exhibitions from artists and many more in the form of live performances, becoming the new, albeit smaller, heart of the city. But this sense of stability can only go so far, as some former sites of economic activity remain abandoned, while others just serve as an outward reminder of the past, being propped up behind the scenes. Now, let's take a moment to look at a landmark that no 2x4 can hold up. Mount Greylock is a 3,489-foot tall mountain located on the western border of both Adams and North Adams. It is part of the Taconic Mountain Range, which formed around 440 million years ago, and is the highest peak in Massachusetts. During the early colonial history, the mountain became a center of attention for the logging industry, but by the 19th century, this continuous practice of deforestation led to landslides and fires at the summit, which prompted local private citizens to form the Greylock Parks Association in 1885, purchasing 400 acres in the summit, controlling the rate of deforestation while also repairing the Notch Road, allowing toll-paying carriages to reach the top, where a new iron observation tower was erected. But this attempt of conservation was not profitable, as by 1897 the association was in debt. With the continuous concerns of erosion and public usage in the mountain, it prompted the state to take over, and by June 20th of 1898, the Mount Greylock State Reservation was created, with a total land acquisition of 10,000 acres. This became the first public land acquisition in Massachusetts for the purpose of forest preservation, and it is now part of the Appalachian Hiking Trail. By the 1930s, legislation for a Veterans War Memorial was approved, and by 1931, construction started. A year later, the Veterans War Memorial Tower was completed, alongside the Bascom Lodge by the CCC. The tower is a 93-foot tall granite structure, which employs the style of starved classicism with hints of Art Deco, a common style of choice for Depression-era public works. It is crowned by an iron and acrylic sphere, acting as a beacon at night, while during the day it provides a 360-degree view of the summit to its visitors. North Adams is a beautiful city with a diverse history, from a lonely fort at the American frontier to an industrial center in the early 20th century, and even now with its slow population decline, it still maintains its charm while sitting in one of the most picturesque areas of Berkshire County. It, alongside Adams, have a shared history, being both an influence and in turn influencing national events, from the Revolutionary War, Chinese exclusion, to the Great Wars, and both named after Samuel Adams, a founding father and 4th governor of Massachusetts. They both hold plenty of history and beauty that even a passerby can appreciate. So what do you guys think? Do you live in North Adams or have ever visited? I was initially surprised at the continuous population drop that North Adams have experienced. Yet they have been able to keep up the charm and sense of community. That's all I got for you today. I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you guys next time.